Is Diablo Immortal about to die? Diablo 4 though is right around the corner, and we've been receiving an absolute ton of comments saying when D4 comes, DI is a dead product, etc. Well, I've got some information about that. We're going to break it down, so watch this full video. Ladies and gentlemen, today we're here to talk about the longevity and life of Diablo Immortal. Now, one of the most common questions that we get is in reference to when Diablo 4 comes out, what happens to Diablo Immortal? Now, I have Veld on, aka the boat captain in his boat today, to talk to us about Diablo Immortal as well as D4 while we kind of play some of the game here in the background. Now, I swapped to Crusader. Spoiler alert, there's going to be a video talking about this, but I am actually a Crusader right now during this video. So hopefully all the Crusaders are happy at me because I made them mad. I was supposed to switch a week ago.
Oh, man, I don't know how you do it. After being melee classes for so long, I just can't farm as a melee class anymore, unless you're monk, which is pretty exciting, to be honest.
Now, in Diablo 4, what class are you thinking about playing? Because if I'm going to be honest, I'm thinking about going very basic again and playing the Necromancer again.
Honestly, I'm not surprised at all. That's something I consider, honestly. Necromancer is something that I feel like if I'm going to try hard, Necromancer makes it so much easier because I could just, like, if I get tired, I can still farm with the summons. But I want to go rogue, I think. I really like the Demon Hunter. I like that aesthetic. So I think it's going to be rogue for me.
I've been seeing a lot of people talk about the Diablo 4 Druid as well. So that was something that I was kind of tempted about also. But we wanted to talk to a little bit about the answer to the question where people were always saying, hey, so is Diablo Immortal about to die when D4 comes out? Now, as we know, D4 comes out in, what is it, about 4 months approximately? I think it's 6/6 was the release date, apparently. If I remember correctly, they went with the thematic release date there. So we have a few months until it's out still. But at the moment, people are saying, oh, Diablo Immortal is just a stopgap to D4, etc., which is actually quite contrary to what we have both been told, I mean, pretty much directly by Blizzard, I would say at this point, which is that, in fact, if you even look, I'm going to see if I can pull this up while we're doing this, but if you even look, they're hiring like a dozen new people for Diablo 4 right now. Let me pull this up here.
Yeah, and I think the big thing for me that, as you said, we've kind of heard that it was going to be a long-term project and Diablo Immortal is going to be another pillar of Diablo forever. But the thing that really pushed me over, and I was like, okay, they're really trying hard for Diablo Immortal, was finally getting a road ahead. Like, we didn't get much in that road ahead, as we know, but what we did get was that Diablo 4 isn't going to stop the development at all because they had a whole plan for the next year, and Diablo 4 comes out in 5 months. So that is kind of like a security factor for those people that aren't necessarily looking to swap off Diablo Immortal.
And as you're saying that, I'm pulling this up right here, and I'm going to put this on the screen. This right here is employment opportunities, basically. If you take a look at this, you can see there's a whole bunch of Diablo 4 related jobs. We have dungeon designer, class designer, game producer, VFX artist, etc., data analyst, technical artist, test lead, pipeline technical artist, rigging outsource supervisor. I don't even know what that does. Senior 3D character artist. I mean, they're going pretty ham. There's 26 jobs currently available for Diablo 4 that they are hiring for. And that's pretty much what I've been told, which is they're building separate teams. Diablo Immortal has their own team. And obviously there's the whole like elephant of the room of it's kind of developed by the East anyway. And the East is very much separate from Blizzard and the rest of the Diablo franchise at this point, almost viciously so, it seems like, if you believe the rumors. And so for that reason, they're not developing Diablo 4 at all. So we have a completely separate team developing these two. So I don't know how you're feeling about this, but the answer to me for this question is, yeah, Diablo Immortal has been answered. It's pretty much going nowhere for Diablo 4. However, that does open up the question for both of us. Are you going to be covering Diablo 4?
100%. I mean, I've been a PC gamer. As much as I think this game does a lot of things well, it has one glaring issue that's always a problem, and that is just the pay-to-win aspect, right? I just don't enjoy having that in my games, despite me enjoying the game itself. So I'm excited to hop onto a game where I'm not limited by server paragon level, combat rating, or resonance. That's kind of my big pride and joy that I love playing is just grinding out the game. I'm a huge MMORPG fan, as you know, you've talked a lot about RuneScape on your channel and all this other stuff. It's like, I love these games. And so I've got to try the MMO version of Diablo. I have to.
Are you going to still be playing DI, or you think you're going to try to do both?
So for the time being, going through the betas, I'm definitely going to be playing Diablo Immortal. I have no plans to stop. As the game comes closer to launch, I think it really depends on kind of what the experience is like in the beta. And then also, I think more importantly, at least for me, is there going to be a lot of support for like content creation and getting into the game that way? As someone that is interested in doing this, full time, I think that's a huge factor. And it really depends on what the experience like is in beta, right? I mean, we have so many unknown factors and a lot of things that we can't even talk about despite being in the beta, or I should say really early beta ourselves.
Yeah, I've had some people try to ask me how that works and ask me like, hey, can you tell me your beta impressions and stuff? So there was actually multiple betas. There was 2 betas from what I'm aware, like closed betas. One of which was for in-game Diablo players. So if you've been playing Immortal, if you've been playing D3, etc., you will get invited or would have gotten invited, it's closed now, to this first Immortal, what they call the in-game playtest. Now, here's the thing about the in-game playtest, and that part's all public knowledge. That isn't just a content creator playtest. In fact, the vast majority of the people that were in that beta were not content creators. It was the normal person. And because of that, the NDA it's a hard one, where even we can't go out here and talk about our beta experience, we can't say stuff that's in the game, etc. However, there was another beta that came out afterwards in which certain content creators were able to get in. They had limited spots. There's only a certain number of them. And those people were in the beta and were able to talk about their experience in the beta. So if you're seeing a discrepancy of like, why can't you talk about the beta? And why aren't some people still NDA'd when people are showing footage of it and talking about it and the website's having all this stuff? Well, the reason they have that is because that was a completely different non-NDA, what they called a press release beta that we did not get access to. So we still are not able to talk about our beta experience in Diablo 4. But what I will say, kind of skirting around the edges of it, is I quite enjoyed it. It looks significantly darker in terms of visual appearance than Diablo Immortal. Much more like grayscale was kind of my impression of it, okay? So visually, I actually found Immortal like more saturated, more lively, but I found the Diablo 4 world seemed to be more thematic and kind of in lines with what I thought Diablo a little bit more is. Now, I'm not saying Immortal is bad thematically, it's fine, but if you look around, I mean, there's all these like super bright cosmetics, the conduits are, if you look at this thing's super bright, the gold is super bright, etc. But it's much more grayscale in Diablo 4. Maybe that's just something weird I noticed, but I don't know if you have something you noticed too about D4 in particular.
Yeah, I mean, before we get the cosmetic shop and people are running around on unicorns or whatever in that game. True. I mean, it's I agree. Every piece of footage that I've seen out there on YouTube or whatever, it kind of reflects that same like almost Diablo Immortal is that time of where you basically have Deckard Cain alive. You have the story where it's a little bit more bright and exciting, I guess a little bit more hopeful, you could say. And then all the bad things happen in D3, right? Like everything gets screwed up. And then now you're in D4 where it's a lot more dark and kind of ominous. And I agree. That's basically what I felt the entire time.
Now, one other question I see that's pretty common in the comments, and I think is a good chunk of the reason why people are asking, hey, is DI about to die, is they want to say that the vast majority of players that play Diablo Immortal are going to quit to play Diablo 4. Now, I have kind of a split opinion on this, but I'll let you go first and what your take is.
Yeah, so I think it'd be kind of interesting. Maybe I'll drop a poll on the channel, but when I've seen this, because it's all over the place, you have, as you say, a very split audience. It's almost like right down the middle anytime I drop a comment. You have a bunch of people that are like, I can't wait for Diablo 4. I'm literally playing Diablo Immortal because I just want to play Diablo. And then you have other people who are like, dude, I don't even have a PC. Like, there's no way I'm going to play Diablo 4. I've never owned one. I'm not going to. And so, honestly, I think that Diablo Immortal does have quite a bit of players that are Diablo players, like traditional D2, D3 players that are going to move to Diablo 4. I think that's a large portion of it. Probably the heavier grinders. There's also a large portion of people that actually enjoy the pay to win aspect of this game. Yeah. They enjoy the mobile. They enjoy the running through a dungeon for 3 minutes and then stop playing. Whereas in most MMOs, you can't just log on for 3 minutes, get something done and log off and actually feel like you've done something. You have to sit around and play for 20, 30, 40 minutes to actually do anything. And so I think it offers a little bit different of just an entire play style. It's totally different.
You're right on the money on kind of where I'm going with this, which is that I've seen a lot of people tell me that they're not going to play D4. They only play mobile games. And so I'm super curious. Did Diablo Immortal do what they wanted? Did they capture a new audience of mobile gamers and people that play mobilely for these type of things? Did they get the Gacha gamers, etc., and this community is going to stay when D4 comes out? Or did they grab that new community and turn them into more hardcore Diablo fans that are now going to want to experience Diablo on a PC? I'll say this. I know a lot of gamers, like personally in real life, that have phones and mobile setups and are willing to try stuff, and maybe like a Steam Deck or a Nintendo Switch, or mostly on their phone, that just don't have a full PC gaming setup. I mean, the truth is, you go into someone who's a gamer's house, and it's quite ridiculous. Like, you very often know it. They have this whole office, like they have multiple screens. A lot of times they got fancy cameras, and not just content creator, and a big microphone and all this stuff. And it looks like what like a car guy's shop kind of looks like by the end of it. You have somebody who's just really, really into it. And I think there's a big amount of those type of people that are playing this game on PC. And I think those type of players end up being the hardcore grinders like you're talking about, which is sort of almost the lifeblood of this game. Like, I think there's a real core group that sit on the PC all day and they're always on, and it's boosting the numbers of it. So I think Diablo Immortal is going to take a pretty good hit when D4 comes out, but I don't think it's going to stop the development of it, if that makes sense. I think they're going to milk it into the ground with however many players decide to play it. If people quit to play D4, sure. I also think there's going to be a handful of people that quit to play D4 and don't like what D4 have to offer. It's not the same Diablo experience, in my opinion, as all the other ones. It's a good Diablo game, but it's not the same experience. So I also think there's going to be a good amount of people that play the game and then end up going back to playing the mobile version because they don't want to spend as much time or do as much grinding, or they don't like the clan system or the PvP or what have it.
Yeah, and I think this is a perfect point. From all the content that all the early game players are releasing from D4, it's all about how D4 is going to be this open world, kind of like Diablo Immortal, but even more so on a bigger scale. And so anyone that enjoys D3, D2, if you guys have played those games, it's always instance-based, party-based, like 4 players. You don't see like hundreds of people running around the map. And that's what it looks like, at least from the videos. You have like groups running around the map. So if that's the case, who knows if people are actually going to enjoy that loot grinder Diablo experience in this different context of a game. And maybe that middle ground, which is where I think Diablo Immortal kind of is placed, is the way to go for some people.
The open world is an interesting point because I'm going to have to see how that plays out. I feel like the open world experience of Diablo could either bring it completely to another tier and make it like that MMO that we all like, where it's like, oh, wow, they actually have like stuff that I really enjoy about MMOs now in this game. Or it could be an absolute disaster, because the reality is sometimes when I log on I log on and what I want to do right now is to grind my character. I just want to run in a circle in Diablo Immortal. And sometimes I can't find a spot. And, a lot of times people are blaming that on like, oh, well, that's because you have these farm, guides that show all the spots. It's like, yeah, I'm literally just showing spots on the mini map. Like, people have to go there anyway to farm. Like, it's not necessarily genius. It's just the flavor of the month. You go to most of these spots, and it can be hard to find one. If you go to your very favorite spot, the Realm of Damnation, Plains of Torment, which that one I do think is our fault because we pumped that one a lot. That one is always full. So in Diablo 4, if I log on, and every time I log on, it's like, it's always full, and it's not like RuneScape where I can hop worlds, and I'm getting PvP'd all the time if they do the open world thing, etc. Like, I could see it actually being kind of a disaster. So I'm kind of curious to see what happens when we get our hands on these betas. I'm still excited for it, though, especially because we've been playing Immortal for, how long's Immortal been out? 7 months now?
Oh, yeah, I made a video on this just a second ago. It's like I've been playing this game for almost 8 months straight. It feels like it just went right on by. And it's crazy. 8 months of Diablo Immortal. I think it's time to kind of try something new.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are kind of feeling that way, which means we're probably going to see some people swap over to D4. So the answer today is Diablo Immortal. Is it dead when D4 comes out? Yes or no? What's your answer, Vid?
I'm going to say no. That's what I'm going to say.
Yeah, I'm going to say no, too. It's not dead. Might take a hit. Not dead, though. I mean, they are kind of separate teams. Hopefully they answered the question, and maybe we'll stop getting in the comments now saying Diablo Immortal is dead when D4 comes out. Okay, bye-bye, everybody. Bye-bye.